Time for a quick update on the tracker rebuild. I finally finished putting in all the additional spines and repairing all the ribs. You can see this was the first rib I put in here, and I did those between all these are the pre-existing ribs, and I put those in there. Also took this piece of angle here and tied this rib to this bulkhead. I can give it some more rigidity. So now I'm getting my foam in. That'll fit in there when I have two hands. Here's all slide in like that. Got the bottom completely filled with rigid insulation. This is an 1.5 inch or 1.5 thick. Put that one in there. This is the last rib. And again, this bulkhead here in the front is also tied in with a piece of angle on top of this rib there. And then in the front, I've started filling this portion up with rigid foam insulation, and I've ordered some more pour foam. I had a little bit left over from another boat, but I'm just putting in some of that pour foam in the cracks and all, just to seal this in and take up every bit of space. I calculated based on the weight of the boat and the motor and the kicker and gear, I'm going to need 31 cubic feet of flotation to keep this boat up. So I got to take up all the little nooks and crannies I can with foam, otherwise I'll have to sacrifice some storage space. But yeah, that'll be completely filled with more of this rigid foam. And then one thing I did was, I don't know if you can see here, but I completely lined this whole area up here with plastic. And that's just to keep the foam from sticking to the aluminum. If I ever need to dig this out, I'll thank myself then for doing that. It'll also keep the foam from getting into these ribs, which are for drainage. So if any water gets up in there, it can come on out through the normal rib or normal drainage ribs there. That's really about it. It's kind of windy today. A little shelter holds up, but I'll finish putting these in, and very next step is to continue rebuilding. So basically I'm putting the boat back together now, and let me just spin around here. That is next. That is the floor. You can see the marks on it where it sits on top of the old ribs, but I gotta clean that up, drill out a few rivet holes, maybe patch a couple hole here or there, and I'll put that floor back in the boat hopefully today. That's it. I'll shoot you another video later. Here's a quick interim video. I got the floor in the boat, and I put insulation or flotation. It's actually that rigid insulation, but it's flotation all under the floor. And there's a kind of a natural channel where the ribs cross the middle of the boat that the flotation will not touch the bottom of the hull, so water can kind of just drain under there without getting stuck behind or soaking the flotation. But back here, I realized that there was a drain hole right here, which I have covered with duct tape, and I thought that maybe there was going to be too much water back here at times, especially if it were out in the rain. So I ended up cutting the floor in half, or not in half, but I cut this off, and then I took a picture of it, but I didn't make a video. But I basically put a piece of angle in here and a piece of angle in here to create a channel right down the middle under this floor so that water can flow freely. And then I had to come back and weld the floor back together, and it's also welded to that rib, so it was kind of a difficult weld for me trying to do a butt weld with these two pieces of floor up against each other and get them to weld to the channel all at once, but we got it. In the back, I welded this floor solid all the way across, just because this is a rib under there, and I just wanted that to be very strong, and it flexes, so I didn't want this cracks and all, because before it was just riveted and they were all broken. And then I drilled another drain hole, because now that I've welded this solid there, if water gets in here, there's nowhere for that water to go, so I put in a little drain hole. And then I started preparing to put the bench back in. So to do that, this was the existing piece of angle that used to just be riveted up there, and a lot of those rivets had broken and pulled out, and I had replaced them and added more, so it was just kind of a mess. So this time I did rivet it back on there, but after riveting it in, I came back and put some welds, and a big one across here, because this is where, when you're going to the back of the boat, you step on the center part right here and then up, so this gets a lot of weight and people stomping on it and just, you know, jumping on it or whatever to climb up in the back. So that's where the bench will go. I still gotta clean this area up here where I'm gonna put the bench. So let me just show you the bench. That's the bench. It goes more or less like that, and you know, it has a lid here, so this is, you know, again, where people step up here to get to the back, which is actually bears quite a bit of weight, and it just was pretty weak. So you know, this lid here just has this one, I don't know what you call that piece of channel there that's just riveted to it, and you can see one of the rivets is broken here, so I might have to, I don't know what I'll do with that. I might just leave it as it is. But this was really weak, so when you step on it, it was you know, it bent down a lot. So what I did was I came back and added a couple pieces of 1/8 inch thick angle. It's 1.5 by 1.5, because that's what I had on hand, and I just put these in across, so I, you know, welded it all in. And this will give that little spot there a lot more rigidity and strength. These are just some extra supports for it that go here. These are, you know, to support this pedestal seat, or whatever kind of seat that is. So it's got plenty of strength here to hold up, you know, where you normally sit, but it had nothing here. And the other thing I realized was this whole area here did not have any flotation. So I've got 31 cubic feet of flotation to get in here. So I'm looking for everywhere possible to put it so that I can keep as much storage as possible up front. So I'm definitely going to fill that with flotation. And then I'll put that back in. I'm most likely just going to rivet it in, so that it won't be impossible to remove if I ever need to get it out of here. And it's also, if I rivet it in and those rivets break, then it's not that big of a deal, because I can replace them easily or come back and weld it later. It's not going to be completely covered or hard to get to. So once I get that bench in, then I'll have to come back and put the sides in. And the sides look like this. It's just I don't know what you call that, but they just fit in here like this. And you can see where the previous welds were that I cut to get them out of there. So I'll put those back in and weld them back up. The bottoms were all just riveted to the floor, and I haven't decided if I'm going to rivet them again or weld them at the bottom, because they're welded at the top and the rivets at the bottom were all popped and broken. So I'm probably going to weld it at the bottom, which means I got to clean all that paint off and get it prepared. And then I'll put this one in, which will include, this is the water hose for the live well. The live well kind of sits right in here. And then the other thing is there was no flotation in here, so I'm going to take advantage of this space and put some extra rigid foam flotation in there so that it'll, you know, I got to get 31 cubic feet, so I got to put it somewhere. Okay, that's a quick update for now. I will update you later once I've made some more progress.